Hello, Duke fans. Welcome into the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, your daily podcast for all things Duke Blue Devils news. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today and getting your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI. Happy to chat with you guys today and every single day. Your Blue Devils, officially the new number one team in the AP poll and the new number one overall projected seed in the 2026 NCAA tournament. Go check out yesterday's show for a full breakdown on Duke's current computer numbers, their AP poll ranking, the NCAA tournament outlook, and Duke's remaining schedule. That is all on yesterday's show of the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And as we all know, Duke is a team that leads with its defense, and it really has gotten contributions from everywhere on the floor throughout the season. Obviously, this is a team led by the National Player of the Year frontrunner and freshman sensation Cameron Boozer. But as we talked about on the show yesterday, this is a Duke team that really didn't utilize the portal like a lot of other coaches did, which is somewhat rare in today's NIL era. Not super rare. Some coaches still do it, but especially for a young coach like Jon Scheyer, it is fairly rare. Duke, really with no key contributors outside of the portal, really the guys that are contributing are the number one overall 2025 recruiting class that Duke brought in, with guys like Cameron Boozer, Nick Hamenya, Caden Boozer, Dame Sarr, guys like that. And then Sebastian Wilkins is redshirting this season. And then other key returners that Jon Scheyer was able to bring back from a team that lost its entire 2024-25 starting five to the NBA draft. As we all know, the National Player of the Year in 2025 and the number one overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. Cooper Flagg was on that team. Con Knipple, Kamen Malawach, Sion James, and Tyrese Proctor were all selected. But Scheyer and his staff still able to bring back a ton of production from last season's team, but really guys that were expected to step into bigger roles, which in my opinion sent a lot of question marks to this Duke team. Guys like Caleb Foster, Isaiah Evans, Pat Ngongba, Darren Harris, guys who were, some of those guys had big roles on the team last year, but guys that didn't really need to step up and weren't two stars of the show. And they had to come in this season as sophomores or the junior that Foster is and really be key contributors. And they have done it to a T. And that is the subject of the show. We are going to be talking about sophomore center Pat Ngongba, who just has not gotten the recognition he deserves, but he has truly been one of the biggest impact players on this Duke team and one of the most improved players in the entire ACC. So as a freshman, Pat Ngongba came into Duke as part of that number one overall 2024 recruiting class, missed a pretty solid amount of time as a freshman. He played in 30 games, but only averaged 10.6 minutes a night. Dealt with a foot injury senior of high school, kind of plagued him a decent bit throughout his freshman season at Duke. But as a whole, just didn't get too much time altogether with Kamen Malawach there. So in those 10.6 minutes across 30 games, none of those obviously started. Ngongba averaged 3.9 points, 2.7 rebounds on 71.9% shooting from the field. Obviously elected to come back and, was a guy that had already kind of established himself as a really impactful defensive player, was a good shot blocker, could protect the rim, wasn't super mobile, but could get out with the guards in transition if needed. Kamen Malawach, if Duke fans remember, was absolutely fantastic in terms of his ability to defend all positions on the floor, his ability to get back in transition and really move like a guard at 7'2" that Malawach was. And Ngongba isn't that type of player, and he's only 6'11", but he sort of took on that role as the key big man on this team. He's the only true center that Duke has on the roster that plays significant minutes, making him that much more vital to this team, just generating a sort of rim protection presence down low. Obviously, as we all know, Duke has length at all positions of the floor. According to KenPom, it's the tallest team in the country, and that's how it's able to defend so well. But it didn't have a ton of depth at the center position specifically. Not a lot of guys that could stay on the low block, thrive on the low block shots, protect the rim at all times, and get rebounds. And the jump that Patrick Ngongba has made as a sophomore has been a vital part to this Duke team this season. So as we mentioned, Ngongba 3.9 points a season ago. He's up to 10.6 points per game to go along with 6.2 rebounds, 2.0 assists, and 1.2 blocks a night on 59.6% shooting from the field. He's going to fly under the radar because he's not going to fill up the stat sheet all that often. He's been in double figure scoring in his last two games, but on the season, just 10.6 a game. But he's been so impactful in all parts of the floor. And one of the aspects of that I did not think was going to happen is he has become willing to take the 3-point shot. He doesn't do it very often, but he's willing to do it, and he's shown a willingness to do it. He doesn't even have to make them at a high clip. Just the fact that he can stretch the floor and get out and force the big when Duke is on offense to get out on the perimeter has been extremely beneficial for the pick and roll game for Duke with guys like Cameron Boozer to get into the lane and find a hole. Last season, as a freshman, Ngongba attempted 1 3-pointer. He missed that. He's attempted 27 this season, made 7 of them. That's a 25.9% clip. But just the fact that he's willing to take those threes has really done a lot for Duke on the offensive side of the ball. And the way he has developed into an offensive player in the pick and roll as a roller at times, he's gotten so much better with his feet, using his body. Because again, for a center, he's decently undersized, you could say. He's 250 pounds, but he's just 6'11". So not the biggest center in the world. And, at the 5 spot could be a position where Duke, lacks some size with so many 7-footers in today's game. And just so many athletic 6'10 to 6'11 guys. But Ngongba has gotten so much better at using his feet and using his body, operating the post. He's got much better of a handle with the basketball in his hands than he did last season. And as we mentioned, he's been such an elite defender. He had already established himself as a really, really good rim protector and a guy that could anchor a defensive team down low. But the jump he's taken has really taken this Duke team to the next level. Again, this is a Duke team that is second in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency at KenPom. It's 16th nationally in 2-point percentage defense at 41.6%. And it's 30th nationally in average 2-point attempt distance to its opponents. We went over this new stat at KenPom before Duke took on Michigan, because Michigan was number 1 in the country in that metric entering the game. So essentially what that means is the average distance to the basket a team's opponents take from a 2-point shot. So ideally, the farther 2-point shot you make an opponent take, that's a more difficult shot. It's a less efficient shot. But although it won't show up in the box score all that much for Ngongba, again, 1.2 blocks a night for him, the numbers really show that Ngongba has been one of the most impactful defenders really in all of college basketball. And the way that he has sort of taken this jump has been so impressive for the team. So according to evanmedia.com, Ngongba is 5th in the country in defensive Bayesian performance rating with a rating of 5.07. Essentially what that number means is the impact a player brings to his team and the value a player brings to his team on the defensive side of the ball when he's on the floor versus when he's not. Patrick Ngongba is 5th in the entire country in that metric. So the presence he has on the defensive side of the ball and the way he anchors the basket and is just able to be a consistent presence for Duke while staying healthy, like he was unable to do a lot of the time last season, has been a major, major boost for the Blue Devils. And it's hard to really emphasize enough just how impactful, he has been from the beginning of the season. Evan Mia also does Ngongba's defensive Bayesian performance rating change. So the change of what it was in the preseason to what it is currently, and Ngongba's top 15 in the country in that change alone, how great of a change that is from what his defensive Bayesian performance rating was at the preseason to what it is now. So Ngongba has gotten so much better. He's an elite shot blocker on the defensive side of the ball, leads the team in blocks at 1.2 a game, like we said. And the way he's able to anchor a defense, move his feet, he can switch if necessary. He doesn't have to do it all that often just because Duke has length at so many positions on the floor, but he can switch if needed, and he's a viable defender out on the perimeter, which obviously just puts Duke at that next level defensively. And you can really tell when he's not on the floor in big moments against length how valuable he is. Against North Carolina in one of Duke's 2 losses on the season, Pat Ngongba fouled out with about 6 minutes to go in the game, forcing Malik Brown to play the 5 because Duke just does not have that much depth at the 5 spot. And Malik Brown is one of the best all-around defenders in college basketball, but he's not a 5-man. He's only 6'9". He can play the 5 if necessary and does it when Ngongba's not there on the bench, but he's not a true 5-man. And from the time Patrick Ngongba fouled out and went to the bench, North Carolina outscored Duke 16-6 across the remainder of the game. Again, North Carolina boasts one of the best frontcourt duos in college basketball with Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar. Caleb Wilson currently out with injury right now, but with Ngongba not on the floor, you really can see the impact it makes on this Duke team, and he has been so critical for this Duke team as of late. Against Michigan, put together what I thought was one of his best outings in a Blue Devil uniform altogether. Goes for 11 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal on 4 of 8 from the field. His numbers are never going to jump out at you in the stat sheet. He's only got 1 double-double in his entire career. But the way he impacts the game in so many different ways is so crucial to this team's success, and it really does seem to fly under the radar. But he's been a star for this team, and his NBA draft stock is shooting up because of it. At the beginning of the season, he had some draft hype, but very, very little first-round buzz. According to ESPN now, Patrick Ngongba is the number 20 overall 2026 NBA draft prospect. So, he went from a guy that really wasn't seeing draft boards at all to a potential first-round draft pick, granted in a bit of a weaker center draft, but he's the number 2 overall center in this draft class right now, according to ESPN's rankings, only behind Jaden Quaintance of Kentucky, who hasn't played much at all this year. Patrick Ngongba putting together a true breakout season that's kind of flying under the radar for how much of a breakout he is, and is turning into a potential NBA first-round pick this summer, and has been one of the most critical pieces to this Duke team. But that is going to do it for us here today at the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today. Make sure to check us out at si.com/college/Duke to get everything latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI, and I'll see you tomorrow.